Hey everybody, so this was kind of a surprise. OpenAI has just announced that DallE-3 will be integrated into ChatGPT. So naturally, like half the internet declared Midjourney dead. I do not think that's the case, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But in the meantime, of course, I've got to do a good old-fashioned prompt shootout, just like I did back when DALL-E 2 Experimental first came out back in March 7th of this year. That's crazy. That was not that long ago, and I think really effectively shows how AI time moves differently. Okay, cowboys, strap on your iron. It's almost high noon. Okay, just as some quick basics, DALL-E 3 is not available in ChatGPT yet, but it will be soon. That said, it will only be available to those who are on the Plus plan of ChatGPT. Now, the selling point on hooking up DALL-E 3 to ChatGPT is that prompting will become much more akin to having a conversation. A common criticism of Midjourney, not my criticism, mind you, but a criticism is that it can be a bit overwhelming to learn. There are a lot of dash commands, and prompting has its own sort of unique system within Midjourney. By using ChatGPT as its language engine, DALL-E 3 should be able to parse longer stretches of text, more descriptive narrative type text, and be able to pick out key tokens from it. DALL-E 3 can apparently do text as well, which is great. I do think that the thunder might have been stolen a little bit by the fact that Ideogram released a few weeks ago, and its big selling point was that it could do text. But it is nice to know that this next generation of AI image models all seem to be able to do text. Here are some DALL-E 3 images from Will Depew, at Will Depew. These are images that are not posted on the official OpenAI website. Will actually has access to DALL-E 3 and has posted these up. We don't have prompts for these, so the shootout aspect is coming in a little bit. This is just to kind of get a look at what DALL-E looks like. But overall, that is a pretty tricky shot. And it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a thumb. It looks like fingers are pretty solid in DALL-E 3. Here's a really cool surrealist image produced by DALL-E 3. I actually really like this a lot. This is, it's very impressive. It's good to know that DALL-E 3 clearly has a pretty solid sense of imagination. Here's an anime-styled image that was given the prompt to include the text, "Welcome to the future." To note, it does say "Welcome to the future," but there is a little bit of garbage text over here. Running the prompt again results in this image, which is pretty nice. It does include the text, it just turns into kind of garbled text. Ilino to the Favetto, I don't know, maybe it's like an Italian place? Apparently DALL-E 3 has been designed to deny the request of particular artists. So say in that anime example, if we were to prompt Miyazaki, it would ignore the Miyazaki token. Personally, I've kind of noticed lately in Midjourney, called out artist tokens seem to have less weight. So that seems to be the overall direction that I think a lot of the AI image generators are going in. Some more photorealism in DALL-E 3. I think this image looks very nice. And here's another one that Will prompted, a mahogany gaming chair, which I think does show the photorealistic model along with DALL-E's imaginative side. It looks really, really cool. Not comfortable, but cool. I do like the fact that this chair comes with straps. What game are you playing that you need to be strapped in? And no matter what you think of DALL-E 3's output, you kind of got to give DALL-E its due. It was the first text-to-image generator that hit the scene way back in January of 2021. But looking at these images and kind of the naive innocence of them really makes me stunned at how far we've come in just a short amount of time. So, hey, props to the OG, that's all I'm saying. So hopping into our prompt shootout, there are a number of examples on the OpenAI DALL-E 3 website, and they were nice enough to actually provide us with prompts this time around. So I decided to take the prompts as is and run them in Midjourney just to see how they would compare. So beginning with this image, the prompt here is a 3D render of a coffee mug placed on a windowsill during a stormy day. The storm outside, the window is reflected in the coffee, with miniature lightning bolts and turbulent waves seen inside the mug. The room is dimly lit, adding to the dramatic atmosphere. So taking that whole prompt and running it into Midjourney gave us these images, and I'm not cherry picking. This is all just an initial roll, and I'm showing you the 4-grid pattern as well. The Midjourney output is not bad, though it is clear that it missed significant elements of the prompt. The stormy day is really only showcased in images number 2 and number 4, and none of them picked up the turbulent waves within the mug. Our next image is the delightful and disgusting, a vast landscape made entirely of meat spread out before the viewer. Tender, succulent hills of roast beef, chicken, drumstick trees, bacon rivers, and ham boulders create a surreal yet appetizing scene. I guess that all depends on if you're a vegetarian or not. The sky is adorned with pepperoni sun and salami clouds. Midjourney returns to us with this, which I think is obviously much more captivating immediately due to the saturation of colors. It did miss the idea that the landscape was made entirely of various meats. You can see it does stretch into the horizon, but it becomes an actual landscape. So really it's just the foreground that is meat. In all four images, it missed the pepperoni sun and salami clouds, and in the tree images, it did miss the drumsticks as well. To reiterate again, this is not necessarily how you would prompt this in Midjourney, so let's take a look at something that might be a little closer in terms of layout to something that Midjourney might recognize. So this is a DallE-3 image that I thought prompt-wise would probably work a little bit better in Midjourney. The prompt here is a photo of an ancient shipwreck nestled on the ocean floor. Marine plants have claimed the wooden structure, and fish swim in and out of its hollow spaces. Sunken treasure and old cannons are scattered about, providing a glimpse into the past. Now, I did think that this would probably work a little bit better in Midjourney, namely because that a photo is right at the beginning of the prompt, which is, you know, a very good token for Midjourney to have. From there, it could probably go through and cherry pick out various keywords to use to build the image. So let's check it out. And indeed, Midjourney, I feel, did more or less nail this one. My favorites being images number 2 and number 3. Is interesting to note that in the original Dall-E image, the color and sea life are pretty heavily saturated, whereas the Midjourney image actually has a desaturation to it. So it's actually the inverse of the field of meat that we saw earlier. Moving on to a papercraft style, the prompt here is a papercraft art depicting a girl giving her cat a gentle hug. Both sit amongst potted plants with the cat purring contentedly while the girl smiles. The scene is adorned with handcrafted paper, flowers, and leaves. This is a very nice image. I actually really like this a lot. Midjourney gives us these 4 images from that prompt, which again, I think goes to showcase how important that a papercraft art token is right at the head of the prompt for Midjourney is. Yeah, these are really great. Again, very colorful and vibrant. If I do have maybe a criticism on the Midjourney side, is that it is kind of on the busy side, whereas the Dall-E version has sort of a simplicity to it. I do also sort of feel that the Midjourney version trends closer towards animation than actual paper art, but once again, this is not the style of prompting you would necessarily use for Midjourney. Diorama type things are always fun in any AI image generator. It's one of the things that I really enjoy prompting for. In DallE-3, this is a mini map diorama of a cafe adorned with indoor plants. Wooden beams crisscross above, and a cold brew station stands out with tiny bottles and glasses. I'm pretty sure I bought coffee here once. It was a very tiny cup, so I had to order 150 of them to pour them into here. Midjourney returns with these 4 images, which are very pleasant to look at. It looks very cozy and comfortable. I will say that it really only got the mini-map diorama aspect of it, really with that 3/4 angle, really in images 2 and 3. 1 and 4 are just basically sort of like head-on shots. And here's one for the vegetarians. This is tiny potato kings wearing majestic crowns, sitting on thrones, overseeing their vast potato kingdom, filled with potato subjects and potato castles. That's hilarious. Midjourney came back with a much darker representation of that. It's sort of funny. The Dall-E one is very innocent and charming, and then you have image number 2 in this one, which looks like it's from an early Peter Jackson film. I mean, even image number 4 looks kind of on the threatening side. Like, those potatoes are like, in our kingdom, we eat you. I also really like Captain Ahab versus the Evil Dead here. That prompt was super long, so let's use an 11 lab voice. This is Finn. He's a sailor.
A detailed oil painting of an old sea captain steering his ship through a storm. Salt water is splashing against his weathered face, determination in his eyes. Twirling malevolent clouds are seen above, and stern waves threaten to submerge the ship, while seagulls dive and twirl through the chaotic landscape. Thunder and lights embark in the distance, illuminating the scene with an eerie green glow.
I'm 90% sure that with that voice, Finn was made to walk the plank. Midjourney returns to us with these 4 images, which are very solid. It definitely leans into the detailed oil painting of the old sea captain at the head of the prompt, and the twirling malevolent clouds definitely appear, at least in image number 1. That said, it really does miss the eerie green glow. Maybe you can see it in image number 2, but yeah, it's not as heavily pronounced as it is in the DALL-E output. Also, is it just me, or is the sea captain in image number 1 Alan Moore, the legendary comic book writer and actual wizard? So aesthetics aside, is this the death of Midjourney? I do not believe so in the least. For one, Midjourney did recently announce that the 3D feature will be coming within the next 6 months. If you haven't seen that, you can check out this video where I took a look at it. And it has been repeatedly stated that Midjourney's version 6 will have a much improved language model. So I think that those prompts that we got from DALL-E will run a lot better in Midjourney version 6. Tatiana Segluvia over on X pointed out that the DALL-E website had 13 million visitors in July, while Midjourney's just the website, not the Discord, because we don't have numbers on the Discord, but that attracted 21 million users. Now that said, in that time frame, ChatGPT had 1.4 billion visitors, so that is a pretty significant difference, though I don't know how many of those users are necessarily going to be interested in image generation. I also haven't seen anything in the ChatGPT version of DALL-E that indicates in or out painting. That is something that DALL-E has always had. I just don't know if that's going to be relegated to text at this point instead of actually drawing a box around the thing that you want to change. Overall, I think no matter how you look at it, this is just a win for everybody. There is no versus. One does not need to kill the other. In fact, if anything, I was pretty much on the verge of canceling my ChatGPT subscription just because I've been experimenting a lot more with Claude lately, but this, of course, drug me right back in. If anything, I'm just really fascinated by this convergence of large language models and image generators. I think this is going to be a really fascinating time for anyone who is interested in creating amazing visuals. I thank you for watching. My name is Tim.